Think back to last weekend, it was quite bizarre. It was quite extravagant. Who would have thought we could even match that? No, we haven't had super overs, but in a very different sense, it's been quite an explosive weekend with all the top three teams going down to teams that apparently looked like they were struggling. Chennai Super Kings winning earlier, and then Rajasthan Royals coming up and doing the unthinkable. First, their bowling effort let out 194, and then they chased it down as if they were chasing just 100 runs. Take your breath and have a look at this in case you missed all that's been happening. 195 for 5 looked like a winning total. They looked like they'd thrown it away with no support for Jofra Archer, with a magnificent 60 of 21 for Hardik Pandya. And then when Rajasthan came to bat, Uthappa started well, but they lost him. Smith looked okay for just a few brief moments, but when he went, you were like, here we go again. Ben Stokes, Sanju Samson has just got that downward trend, and up it came. And how? 54 of 31, but the man of the moment, and he's got a sense of occasion. He doesn't do things in small measures, is Ben Stokes. Comes up with a magnificent 100, and as I said, he's just a man with a sense of occasion. Lisa Sthalekar, Shaun, Pollock alongside. How do you describe this man? I'm running out of superlatives.
Well, I think the difference that we saw with Stokes today was that he was able to smoke a few straight back down the ground. He was looking to go along the ground, not go the aerial route. He wasn't trying to overhit. And once he got a few away, especially against Bolt, you kind of go, okay, this guy, this is reminding me a few things. Now, for me, as an Aussie, when he started to back away and show all three stumps and try and go through the offside, I was thinking, Headingley, surely he's not going to do that again. He just kept going and going and going. So, it was an absolute pleasure to watch because we know when he's flying, he's entertaining.
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant. There's been a few questions about whether he should go at the top of the order. He's probably answered all of those now. His finishing ability and what we've seen from him, his real strength is to get a team over the line in dire situations. So it doesn't always have to be at the top of the order. Normally in the middle order, he does a brilliant job. But once he had got himself set there today, he really just played with great control. We know he's got the power and a wonderful strike rate, 3 sixes, 14 fours. And he really just conducted himself. At the end of the day, it was an easy chase. It's a very good bowling lineup that Mumbai have got. And, he made that surface look like an absolute belter. The bowlers, no matter who came to the crease, had no answer. There wasn't many variations that worked. He just kept his foot down on that pedal and took them home with ease.
And we did keep reiterating that the reason why this chase would be a tough one is because you're up against an attack, a top quality attack. You've got Bumrah, you've got Pattinson, you've got Bolt, you've got the spinners in Krunal Pandya and Rahul Chahar, who's been outstanding throughout the tournament. And of course, Pollard can chip in if someone were to go for a few. Didn't matter. Everybody went for runs. Just beat Bumrah. If anything was the best, and the best was 9.5 along with Pollard's couple of overs. So if Rahul Chahar goes 3 overs for 36, you know that with his consistency, Stokes and company have done something really good.
They just were able to cash in. They took a couple of risks. There were a few times when Sanju Samson came down and he wasn't at the pitch of the ball, but he trusted the pitch. He trusted his hands to go find the ball and then cleared the boundary with ease. So just when you thought the bowlers had bowled a decent delivery, Rajasthan found ways of scoring runs. So that just put so much pressure back on to them. Bolt wasn't able to execute his Yorkers. So Mumbai would be disappointed that they weren't able to kind of find a way out of that because it's been, very few times that they've been tested.
But you have to say the fact that Josh Butler didn't get to the crease. I mean, he's been the one in form. And, you always look at it from a management perspective once you've been in that role and just think if only they could have got their players with a bit of a more uncluttered mind for more of the tournament. If they could have settled on a batting lineup a little bit earlier, had everyone known what their roles were. This is what they're capable. I mean, you've got match winners there. Of that, there's never been doubt. Samson can do it. Ben Stokes, we're now seeing tonight, Josh Butler. So that's 3 guys, and Steve Smith hasn't really fired. But they do have that ability. And now that they seem to have everyone in the right role, end. Is it too late? We'll have to wait and see. But they are capable of it, and sometimes that is the key moment of success for the management staff. How do we get these guys just to focus on the ball, play their roles as best they can, and show us their ability?
Shaun mentioned Butler. We were talking during the Cricbuzz Combox segment that, they've got a chance. We've got Stokes in, we've got Samson in, but look what's to follow. We kept talking about what's to follow. There's Butler to follow, Tewatia to follow. He seems to do it all the time. Jofra Archer can hit a few. They didn't even walk out. They didn't even leave their dugout. And I think a lot of credit should go also to Sanju Samson. When someone scores 100, you obviously are looking for all the words about him. But what about Sanju Samson, who literally couldn't buy a run for a couple of weeks?
He's had a difficult little patch, hasn't he? Burst onto the IPL, and we spoke about this at the start of this match, that he has very great starts in the IPL and then he tapers off. It takes a lot of resilience, good people around him to kind of ensure that he gets back up onto the horse and be able to score runs again. But when he does look good, and he was able to play with freedom since the first two games. That's how long it's been. So yeah, Shaun, I'd be interested to know what's changed in that change room.
I think well, maybe I could shed some light on it. I think at the start of the tournament he was so brilliant that everyone just let him get on with it. Even your senior players like your Butlers and your Stokes and your Steve Smiths, they wouldn't have been offering anything, because why would you? He's playing lights out. And then when he went into a bit of a bad spell, sometimes a guy who's done really well, you don't automatically go over and say, well, why don't we try this, just give yourself a little bit more of a chance. You sort of just leave him because you think he'll bounce back to those same heights. And at this stage of the tournament, as I mentioned, the Combox a little bit earlier, I think it's got to the stage where I think the communication gaps have now opened between Ben Stokes and Samson and Steve Smith and Josh Butler. And they're saying, listen, take your time. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. And in the middle, I think they're communicating along those lines. So maybe they've got to know each other a little bit better. Maybe they trust each other to give them an opinion. And maybe that's going to bring the best out of them. You never quite know unless you're in the camp. But I do get a feeling that they're more open to taking suggestions and more interested in playing a part in everyone else's game.
Just Shaun, on that, actually.
I'm going to come back to both of you. Both of you, because I quickly want to make a point since we are on the Sanju Samson discussion, and hold that thought, Lisa, because he's also made it to our boost stamina meter. So in context of that, we'll talk a little bit more about Samson, and then I promise you, Lisa, I'll get to your point. Just look at that batting rating, 91, when we knew it was plunging to depths he wouldn't want to look at. 54 of 31, keeping Stokes company at the other end, 4 4s and 3 6s. That didn't matter as much as the time that he spent at the crease, the singles, 2s, 3s that he ran. And his fielding rating, of course, is unimportant at the moment. It was the company, the partnership with Ben Stokes that made this so invaluable and at the right time.
Yeah, hugely right. Look at the score, 91. He did what was required of him. But just on that point, back to what I was kind of following up from Shaun, you look at the internationals that you have in Rajasthan, and I'm not sure if I said it on Cricbuzz or whether it was off air or in the commentary box. We were talking about the internationals are very introverted guys. Steve Smith, Jofra Archer, Joss Butler, Ben Stokes obviously wasn't there for the start of it. Probably David Miller is the most out there of a personality from an international. So you're right, Shaun, maybe the fact that communications, the groups have kind of gelled together, and sometimes when things aren't going well, either you start pointing fingers at each other or it somehow just unites you, and maybe that's exactly what's happened with Rajasthan.
Yeah, and specifically, Shaun, just to finish off on Sanju the individual, because one part of it, of course, is the stroke play, and we keep talking about the artistry, but how much of today's innings, the 54 of 30, was played in the mind?
Yeah, we'll never really know. We'll have to get into his mind and ask him those kind of questions. But it must have been a battle in the mind, because when you start off that well, when you've had a trend of maybe not featuring as well as the tournament goes on, mentally you start to put pressure on yourself, and that often reflects in the way you go out and play. And every opportunity that you get, you maybe start to doubt yourself. You maybe start to ask a few questions, and you start to think, well, maybe I shouldn't take the risk now. If I get out, I'll be back under pressure. And also taken over the wicket-keeping role for the last few games. So there's been a lot of stuff going on. I think this will settle him for the rest of the tournament, and it'll give them a nice boost. They haven't played their best, but this is what they're capable of. I still think they're struggling a little bit in the bowling department, and as much as Ben Stokes was brilliant today, please somehow get 2 or 3 overs out of him, and it makes a massive difference to this team.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd like to have been chasing 30 runs less, much as the entertainment game. Maybe Stokes wouldn't have got 100 in that case. But from Sanju Samson's point of view, we tried to get into his head by actually eavesdropping on what he said at the end of the game. And he was very clear. He said it was about the belief. He said if you play 14 games over a season, you are going to go through your downs. And that just shows his maturity. He was aware that he was going through a slump. And he said 2 things. 1, he had the belief. 2, of course, that he liked batting with Ben Stokes at the other end, but 3, that he did not necessarily look at the target. Because sometimes, Lisa, you can look up there and say, whoops, 195, is that what we are chasing? Oh dear, play a big shot, off you go. So he said at no stage did I look at the target. I played every ball, played it on merit.
Yeah, and the communication between him and Ben Stokes would have been crucial. And sometimes, you don't necessarily look at the scoreboard. You just look at a partnership. Well, we haven't lost a wicket this over and we've scored 8 runs or 10 runs. Right, we're ticking along nicely. And we're keeping the required run rate at a gettable rate. Whilst Ben's out there and he's finding the middle of the bat, I'm sure as a non-striker, you're thinking, all I need to do is support him. I need to be here at the other ends. And he did that job perfectly. So, yeah, sometimes you just have to take the scoreboard out and you just see the ball and play it on its merit. Very hard to do. If people could just unlock that constantly, then we'd see some massive scores. But it is a difficult skill to master.
Yeah, and to be fair, it looked like he was doing that. There are some people who might just say it, that, I didn't look at this, I wasn't looking at that. But just to look at his innings, you could tell that's what he was doing, and he was playing with a freer mind, and it's going to augur well for the team. Quickly check we can quickly check the innings progression at this stage, because I think that will tell the story of where things stood. Look at Mumbai. Look at that little phase they went through and why they had to go absolutely ballistic in those last few overs. 15.8. What Rajasthan did well in 7 to 10, 11 to 15, didn't leave it for the last 5, 11 and 11.
Yeah, they didn't. I think also when you talk about Sanju Samson and what he did, I think it's a big boost to have someone of the likes of Josh Butler still to come. In a batting lineup, I know I used to come down quite low, and me and Bouchy would get into a partnership, and you look behind, you think, well, okay, I've got Mackay and Alan Donald and Paul Adams to come. You think, well, we left with the responsibility now, so we don't really take a big shot on until we get down to a bit of a partnership forming, and then we take it from there. I think Samson, when he's coming in at times in this tournament, he's looked back down and he's seen Utthapai, who hasn't been in good touch, and other people to follow, and he's thinking, oof, it's sort of up to me. Whereas today, he would have looked and said, well, Josh is still to come. He's in great form. Let's play. Josh is still to come. I'm in great form. Let's play. And I think those things definitely contribute when you know that there's someone with the hitability of Josh Butler still to come. And the fact that they chased that score down and he didn't even get to the crease. We wouldn't have guessed that, not in 100 Badgers guesses.
And Lisa, the other thing was, I thought when Shaun started that story, he started going lower down the order. The fact is, the South African team we remember of that era, it is numbers 3, 4, and 5 who'd end up batting like Samson and Stokes, because they would look down the scorecard and see Boucher and Pollock to come.
Correct, exactly. He's very modest, isn't he, our Shaun? But not when it comes to when he wins the badge. He's like front and center.
Well, the fact is, he's obviously a little quiet right now because he hasn't won the Mile 11 Circle Badge of Honor. So I think it's time. Thank you, Shaun. Thank you very much. Thank you. The applause means a lot. Oh, from both of you. That's lovely. It comes in
round
stereo.
Of applause.
That's excellent. It's a rare feat, but it comes along once. Oh, there it is. Lovely. Hold it there. Hold it there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pose for the. Do it like Andre Fletcher. Every time he hits a good shot, he just holds the pose for the cameraman. Yep. It was 52 that I had said. They got to 57, but I think what was crucial is that they made that power play count, no matter whether we guessed it or didn't guess it. They made the power play count, and then 7 to 15 is where they made it all happen. But let's look back at the entire weekend and what it's meant. First up, the big headline, Chennai Super Kings, no matter what, are out. They're officially eliminated. They will not be able to make the playoffs no matter what they do. Apologies, Shaun, you made an effort, put that entire set of numbers together, but it's not to be. Chennai, unfortunately, they needed this one to go their way, and we thought it would.
Yeah, I think all 4 games, I mean, to be totally honest, I think every single game that's happened this weekend has been a surprise. If I had to have backed the 4 teams at the start, it would have been the 4 that lost, and they haven't gone according. That's why we love the RPL, the unpredictable nature of it, particularly at the back end here. It keeps a lot more teams interested now, and also the jockeying for positions, whether you're trying to qualify number 1 and 2, or you're just trying to make the playoffs. It's all opened up, and everyone's got something to hold on to. Some of them is the position in the log, and then for some of the lesser sides who haven't performed that well, a good weekend's performance, which maybe just gives them the boost they need to try and get over the edge.
And Lisa, we talked about the 3 teams, the top 3 teams who lost. The 4th game, which perhaps of the 4 was maybe the most evenly contested, that was Punjab against the Sunrisers. That, again, was topsy-turvy because Punjab just didn't put enough runs on the board, and still they ended up winning. So, again, as Shaun said, all 4 results surprises.
Yeah, and that Shaun hit the nail on the head. That's why we love the IPL, and it always seems to come right down to the wire, doesn't it? I'm surprised that there isn't still another way that Chennai could actually still sneak in. I'm sure someone will find it out there, but yeah,
disqualification of a few, maybe.
True. Okay. But you certainly want all the teams and all the matches to count. And, we've been certainly blessed over the years that the IPL, every match does count. So, and don't be surprised if Chennai go, okay, great. Now, who are we taking out with us? Who can we drag along with us for this, the party to start a little bit sooner? So I love the fact that it's still open. You look at the 3 top teams that lost, they'll be kicking themselves because they still haven't secured that 1 or 2 spot.
And just, a few weeks ago, we were just ruining the fact that, oh dear, it's top 4 teams, and then everyone else has a bit of a gap too. So could it just become a 4-team IPL? And it's quickly changed. It's quickly changed to now become a 7-team tournament, almost 8 till 15 minutes ago. But look at that, 3 teams up there, 14, 14, 14. But it's all starting to close up. The gap's starting to close up.
Yeah, Rajasthan keep themselves in there. I mean, there's 2 teams that have played 12, only 2 to go. So it would have been basically a last chance saloon for them as well. And they've done it.
Yes, they certainly have done it. And we've got some huge games coming up. And we will, of course, tell you all about that. But again, just looking back at today, the My 11 Circle Ultimate Team of the Day, there are actually 2. One is the entire Rajasthan 11. 2 is the number of players who actually picked the most points. And you can see it's dominated by pink. It had to be Ben Stokes. That's a no-brainer as captain. And Sanju Samson very much in there. Hardik Pandya in a losing cause, 60 of 21, vice-captain, picked up a bucket load of points there. But you could see it's dominated by pink. And all of these guys contributing. Stokes, Uthappa at the top, Shreyas Gopal with those 2 wickets. All contributing. And I think what will please Rajasthan the most is that they didn't need Butler. Jofra was good, but he didn't have to be out of his skin. It was Ben Stokes who turned up at the party. My 11 Circle, champion of the day. No, it's not Ben Stokes. He simply is the man of the day. And it is Satyajit Shaw. Satyajit Shaw from Bardhaman in West Bengal. If you're from here, you're obviously celebrating the end of the festivities. Which will basically come from today to tomorrow. So it's a couple of days of festivities, whether you want to say Happy Dasera or Shubha Bijoya to everyone. It's a combination of tonight and tomorrow, and we shall say it at the end. But well done to him. And we've still got so much cricket to talk about. Big game coming up tomorrow. Make no mistake, because of all these chasing teams, the team in 4th place and the team just below them, Punjab, who have done so well. 4 on the trot. Can they make it 5 in a row? And it's coming from Sharjah. We're still not certain about Andre Russell being Sharjah. He'd love to be in there. We know that Punjab have a few hitters, one guy by the name of Christopher Henry Gale. So what a battle that could be potentially, folks. Russell versus Gale, Shaun.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know how he fits in to Dre Russ from the last Kolkata performance. How do you get him? Because he hasn't really played lights out, has he? I mean, he's been a little bit of a disappointment, to be totally honest. But I suppose what the value he brings with both bat and ball would probably mean they'll try and find a place. But the universal boss has been the dominator. Since he's been in that Punjab team, it's been a change in fortunes. And he'll absolutely love the thought of going to battle on that small ground. If he gets going, he can single-handedly win the game. So, yeah, there's some big players, and at this stage of the tournament, you want them to come good. And Cramps, he's one of those boys who can do it.
Look at those 5 losses between the 27th of September and the 10th of October. They were on 2 points from just that one Bangalore win on the 24th of September. And that's why we had pretty much ruled them out. And we were saying 7 teams, Chennai not looking that great. Okay, maybe 6 teams. And suddenly, win. Chris Gale in the side. They're looking a different unit, Lisa.
They are. And we've also got to remember Nicholas Puran as well. He has looked superb. And KL Rahul, he scoring runs for fun. I'm not sure if we'll see Mayank Agarwal, obviously the ankle. So I reckon they may rest him. But it's a tough one because they're both coming off 2 very different wins. Obviously, one from Punjab, the fact that they were able to defend 120 odd runs, whereas KKR beating Delhi Capitals quite convincingly. So they'll both be full of confidence. I don't know. I've got a bit of a fairy tale story kind of with Kings 11 Punjab, given the fact that we looked at how poorly they started. I'm kind of rooting for the underdog in that sense. I think I'd love to see those guys at least get up into the final stage.
Yeah, we remember that one final that they did have. Well, won't talk about that anymore. That was 2014. But let's have a look at their squad, because at one point they had the top 2 run scorers in the tournament, and we were saying, but why have they got just 2 points? Because nobody else was scoring. Now, even with Mayank Agarwal's ankle looking a little dodgy, they've got contributions from Puran, Maxwell starting to do something, Gale's come into the side, Jordan bowled beautifully the other day. Do you see any changes other than maybe they're trying to force Mayank Agarwal back if he's fit?
I don't know, Gautam, you're saying Maxwell's starting to do something? I'm waiting to see him do something, first of all. I think he's been pretty disappointed, to be totally honest. So do they hold the nerve? Do they say, we'll stick with you for a couple more games and you repay us with a couple of good knocks that get us into the playoffs? Do they decide to maybe make a change and go to Nisham as the option just to strengthen their bowling lineup? Because that might be what you need at a Sharjah ground. But after that win, I don't know, maybe if Mayank's fit, obviously you throw him back into the mix. That's an absolute no-brainer. But besides that, maybe just try and hold your nerve and say, well, let's not change too much. We had a bit of a good thing going and see if we can repeat.
I'm glad Shaun pointed that out, because in my mind, I'm just thinking of them winning 4 games. I'm thinking of Maxwell bowling 4 overs, and I'm going, okay, maybe he's done enough. But he's got a good point. What he's there for, he has not actually been doing, Lisa.
No, he hasn't. I think they've found ways for him to contribute. And obviously the last game, none for 28 off 4. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's a stat out there. The last time Maxwell scored a 50 in the IPL, was that 2016?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So that's a massive concern. Yeah, he's there as an all-rounder, more as a batting all-rounder, if anything. Can bowl 2 overs, 1 over if needed. So, very disappointing for him. He has to score runs. Otherwise, I think you do have to change. But the thing is, if you're winning, you're willing to carry a team member, aren't you? And that's always happened. So, I don't think they'll change the side. If anything, they'll change it to get Mayank in, but I don't think he'll be fit enough.
Yeah, fair point. But he's just got that presence in the field, and maybe that's what was influencing me. He just seems to be there. He's talking to the captain. He's in the hot spots when it comes to being. I'm not selling him. I'm just.
There's the essay again.
I'm justifying my own stupidity. That's all. for calling.
Well, I
Maxwell and
think
having
what's amazing is that in India, when you've got certain guys who aren't performing, you guys would throw them off the boat and they would never appear again. And so it's interesting to see you defending Maxwell. He's faced over 100 balls this tournament, still to hit a 6 in 2020, but he is playing a charge of the smallest ground. So maybe we'll see a light up innings from him this time.
I confess, Shaun, Pollock, I was defending myself, not him. It was just I jumped the gun. I was writing another essay instead of trying to make it multiple choice, and I was saying, everyone's performed. Mayank has, Gale has, Jordan bowled beautifully. Maxwell's done. Oh, Maxwell hasn't. Okay, fine, admitted. Let's go on to the opposition, because our conclusion is that the winningness might just keep him in the side. Otherwise, there's a case to drop him. Let's look at Kolkata and see where they stand at the moment, because they've just played a game. It's not been too long ago. Magic from Varun Chakravarti. They don't want to get influenced by that, because they're not going to get that kind of a performance every single day. And I'm wondering, Sharjah, are they going to pick that up for him? Any possible changes, or have they settled down, even minus Dre Russ?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you go Dre Russ, who in place of? Lockie Ferguson's been a revelation in his few games that he's played. I mean, he won the game single-handedly for them just 2 games back. Pat Cummins was brilliant in his first spell the other day. Nareen came in and did what Andre Russell's done for so many years for the team. And Owen Morgan's the captain, so you can't drop him. It would be a big call, I suppose. I mean, I can't see them replacing Nareen or Cummins because what do they do? It would be a massive call to say, listen, Lockie, you miss out because maybe we want to strengthen our batting. But I wouldn't want to be the one making that decision.
Yeah, I suppose if he stands up and says, look, I'm fit, raring to go, he gives you balls that heavy ball, and maybe you just have to sacrifice Lockie Ferguson and say, we've get the extra runs from Hope to get the extra runs from the big man.
Yeah, that's the disappointment, I think, with some of the guys. When you go into the auction, you buy a Stokes, who's going to bowl for you. You buy a Russell, who's going to bowl for you. You buy a Hardik Pandya, who's going to bowl for you. I mean, they go for the big bucks because they bring the big balance to a team. And unfortunately for these teams, you feel for the coaches, the management, the selectors, because some of them can't do both parts of their roles. And it does throw your balance out massively.
To be fair, Lisa, Russell, despite not having performed with the bat, if there's any performances you do remember, it's those wickets that he's taken at crucial times. It's those 2 overs for 14, 15 runs that he's bowled at crucial times.
Yeah, and he bowls it at the back end. And you're right, he bowls back of a length, cross-seam deliveries, cutters on pitches that are starting to just get the ball to hold up. So he has been effective from that point of view. But again, it's like looking at Maxwell. Why are people so excited about Andre Russell? It isn't necessarily his bowling, it's his batting and what he was able to do. The thing was that he showed us what he could do, and he just hasn't been able to emulate that at all this year. I don't think he changed the side. As much as he's a great player, and history would show that he's a great player, he's out of form at the moment. So you've got to sometimes go, you know what, we're okay with you sitting on the bench for now. We seem to be humming. We seem to be going along well. People know their roles. Shubman Gill would probably be the only one that I'd question. He just probably needs to up his intent in the power play. I'm glad that Nitish Rana, when he got the chance, so now he's opened twice and he scored half centuries. But Shubman Gill needs to be able to now go on with his innings a bit more. He's got a lot of opportunities, a lot of 20s and 30s, but he has to start kind of repaying the faith in the selectors.
Yeah, I think that's well summed up by Lisa Sthalekar there. A huge boost to Kolkata for having Nitish Rana back in form. But yeah, Dre Russ won't mind. He gets to wear those cool shades and clap from the sidelines. But one quick look at Kolkata's schedule, because remember, that could just be a factor. We talk about teams having got used to a certain kind of ground. They're going to be coming to Sharjah. They've won 5 out of 8 in Abu Dhabi. Now they're going to be taking on the big hitting Punjab side in Sharjah. And then they finish off again against Chennai first. That could be party poopers. And then fellow contenders, Rajasthan, in that final game. So 2 out of 3 are certainly fascinating contests.
Well, Gautam, the 2 games that they have played in Sharjah, they've lost. So it's not a happy hunting ground for them if you want to look at it that way. So they'll be happier to come back to Dubai, but certainly Abu Dhabi was their home, and obviously I think they're the only team that's staying in Abu Dhabi as well. So it was a short drive to the ground for them.
Yeah, that was a good point made at the end, because when they first came there, remember early on we were talking about Sharjah being the sixth sitting ground, and that time we didn't know of what Russell and Narayan would be up to, but we expected a lot from them. So they'll have to correct a few things. But for all of you, correct or wrong, the real question is, how quickly did you answer Joy Bhattacharya's question? Seems a long time ago on Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning for Shaun, Sunday night for Lisa, when the question was posed, and now Lisa gets to witness it on Monday morning. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's coming. We will wrap up soon, I promise you, Lisa, before it gets closer to Tuesday. What was the question? Quick reminder. And here it was. In one particular season of this event, half of one team's total wins were by a 10-wicket margin. That's incredible. Just name the team and the season.
Yeah,
this is just about going back.
It must have been a team that didn't win too many. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Hyderabad.
Right.
Oh, that would have been against us. That would have been against me.
Oh, dear.
That was, we were talking earlier about Gilly, weren't we? And his massive innings he had. That was him. He swiped us to all parts. I think he got 100 and they won it in about 10 or 12 overs. So they only won 2 in the whole tournament.
Correct. And that was at the D.Y. Patil Stadium, one of them.
Yes.
Right. I think, as I said, Joy, he picks questions with a sense of occasion. I suspect he might have picked this because he saw the roster and you were on, Shaun.
Yeah. In fact, that was my first game as captain of Mumbai.
I really started. What a great!
I started with a bang. Could only go one way after that.
Smart. Very smart. Very smart of you.
How many did they chase down to win by 10 wickets?
Oh, it must have been 150 or 60, but it only took him 10 overs or 12 overs, if I remember correctly.
Crikey. That is, it's definitely Joy. We'll get him for this whenever he's back on the show, because he's got a sense of humor, but sometimes it can be a wicked sense of humor, and I'm certain that's what it is. Anyway, let's try and change the topic and find who our winner is for this particular question. Have to go back in time a little bit, and it is our seasoned veteran, Rohit Yadav, Crick Rohit, yet again. Not going to applaud for you because I've done it too many times. My hands are sore from applauding for you, but well done. It had to be a veteran. And just to confirm, our producer confirms that it was one with 8 overs to spare, and it was 155.
There we go.
Jeez.
Oh boy!
But I think
it was a harding.
I think
it was a tub. It was a tub thumping.
Tub thumping. We started the show, folks. We started the show with the song Tub Thumping. In case any of you haven't heard it and you're not the regulars on playing football on the Xbox or the PlayStation, you would have heard the song. If not, go and listen to it. It's a pretty catchy song, and it's got to do with the theme of this entire weekend with 4 teams.
I thought you were going to ask Lisa to sing it for us.
If it was not Monday morning,
I get knocked down, but I get up again. There you go, done.
What for? It's perfect. One line is all we needed. That's what you get. She would probably have said no if it was last night. She got the gist of it. Well done to Crick Rohit. Well done to Lisa for that song. Well done to Shaun Pollock for almost taking 1 Hyderabad wicket all those years ago. But it actually kind of reminded us of what Rajasthan did today. Chasing 155 with 8 overs to spare, not losing any wickets, was like chasing 195 and doing it with an over and a bit to spare and just losing 2 wickets. Ben Stokes, you champion. You did it again. It's given us a fabulous weekend of cricket. Thank you, Shaun. Thank you, Lisa. Since we started it off that way, it's time to say good morning to Lisa, good afternoon to Shaun, or is it good evening? Good evening, Shaun.
Good evening.
And good night to everyone. And of course, all the best wishes for the Sera and Shubho Bijoya for everyone who happens to be in this part of the world. Good night and see you from My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.